Good morning. This is Coffee with the Summerland Kids. I'm Jericho Wogg. This is Aaron Riggs right beside me. We're both drinking coffee. This is episode 103 of our morning coffee talk show. It's Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. The weather in Summerland today is currently 61 with a high of 73. Looks like it's kind of cooling down in Summerland for as we roll into September. We're not quite there yet, but um, we're heading toward the end of the month. That's what's up.
Yeah, 61 degrees. That's a little bit cold in the morning, but if your
Yeah,
coffee's hot, it's about perfect. And then
exactly.
73, you can't get much more desirable.
I
That's
know,
about
right?
perfect. No need
Yeah,
for AC, no need for a heat.
yeah. I mean, it's like I'm curious. I've heard like Spain has the Mediterranean climate of Santa Barbara is just amazing. For the most part. I mean, a place where you can grow oranges and citrus and like our avocados, lemons, strawberries, freaking, just pretty much anything will grow there. I mean, of course, grapes just over the other side of the mountains. Maybe the grapes like the warmth of like the Santa Ynez slash Santa Maria. I'm not sure what the grapes like, but they obviously they call it, it's like our little version of wine country back there. So they got to be doing something right.
Yeah, just over the hill from the coast, pretty
Yeah,
much on the whole central coast from, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, Paso Robles is kind of
yeah, Paso. Yeah,
wine country. They call it wine country.
yeah,
Um,
for sure. It's interesting.
it's definitely a thing to go on the wine tasting tours. They got a bus
Yeah,
that'll pick you up and drive you around to the different wineries, and you can get some wine tasting in and
right.
all kinds of different wines and grapes. There's a bunch of winemakers up there in
Yeah,
Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo, Central Coast.
yeah.
Summerland. I always kind of pictured Summerland as the center of the Central Coast, but when I got older, I realized that they called the Central Coast the region between Santa Cruz, basically, and Ventura. So Oxnard
Okay.
would be like the lower end, and Santa Cruz would be like the north end, and
Yeah.
San Luis Obispo is pretty close to the center of the Central
Okay.
Coast. You're
Okay.
about 3 hours from San Francisco and about 3 hours from Los Angeles,
All right. That makes
and
sense.
I guess what San Luis Obispo is a little more than an hour above Santa Barbara as far as north south goes.
Yeah. And I liked Paso Robles. Like they used to have West Coast Customs car show was in Paso. They called it like I guess Paso was kind of for Paso Robles, and they had a cool, beautiful center park in the town, like a big like town square kind of vibe. It was all grass and trees, and then they had like an old A&W root beer. Um, it's kind of like Foster Freeze, like a little burger stand kind of place left over from the old days, and that was there. This is like probably in the early 90s when we were up there. Um, and I was going to car shows with my boss just for fun, and it was cool. I mean, they the town would book up a year in advance for the car show, and so people would have hotel rooms and stuff, and then Friday night was like cruise night or something like that, and then they probably would start parking cars. I would imagine really early in the morning Saturday, if not even Friday night. I'm not sure how they worked that out, but on Saturday was the full swing car show, and all the cars were in the park, and then they would do judging and give out awards for different things. And they had like um, a lot of the old timers. I remember seeing some of the old timers before they passed away were there. Some of like the greats in the automotive hot rod scene were there. And so it was really fun to see that, like almost like American Graffiti, like the car culture thing in full swing in Paso Robles. They moved to Santa Maria, I guess. That's the latest news on that
I
one.
think they have like a car show. There's several car shows
Mm-hmm.
there in the Central Coast. I'm not exactly sure about in Santa Barbara, but I know in San Luis
Yeah.
Obispo County, the big one is in Pismo Beach, right?
Okay.
Pismo Beach is a tourist destination.
Yeah.
It's pretty much in the middle of summer. Um, you got the car show, and then 4th of July are kind of the two big Pismo Beach things. And then Atascadero has a pretty big car show. They take over the whole kind of park down, not downtown, but kind of offshoot of downtown. There's a big park, and they let them park right on the grass, and it's super cool. They got the cool customs. They got the original, all original, completely, original, all detailed and perfect. And
Yeah.
then one of my favorite categories is the rat rods.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like half of this car, half the Franken cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Tascadero does have a cruise night.
Oh,
And so
cool.
the cruise night, they kind of close off the main drag, and it's almost like a parade. People
Yeah.
take the cars and cruise up and down and then throw candy. And the Tascadero is kind of interesting because they allow you to drink on the streets there.
Okay.
Right. So everyone's
That's
got
awesome.
their cooler and they're having beer. And I've talked to the police officers, and they're like, well, technically, but we don't enforce unless you're being stupid and drunk. Right.
Right.
So, you're allowed to have a couple beers, get a slight buzz. All the businesses along the drag will kind of open up, like the car dealer opens up seating. So they have like a whole bunch of locals and a big barbecue pit at the car dealer. And there's a couple other businesses that do that. And then it moves up to Paso. I believe that's the sequence, Pismo, Atascadero, Hot August Nights or something is what one of the times they call it. And then Paso does a big car show. I don't know if Paso has a cruise night per se, because
Yeah.
it is kind of a medium-sized town. It's not necessarily a big city. So when all those people come in, it gets booked up. It gets crowded. You got to find your parking. And sometimes bus in or carpool in, because there's not really a bunch of spots to drive. And once all those people get in town, I think they shut down some of the roads so that traffic can have their space.
You're right. They definitely do. And then I remember in Santa Barbara, they used to have at the Polo Grounds, they used to have like Concours d'Elegance, which was like the upper crust thing. And then I have a friend from high school. Jeff Clark, essentially Jeffrey Clark on Facebook. Shout out to Jeff Clark. I think he's doing something like Cars and Coffee on Sundays. He had a little gas station, Upper Coast Village, Montecito, for a while. That it was kind of like, I'm not sure if he was renting it or what the story was, but he was there, and now he definitely does Cars for Coffee on Sundays, I think, or Cars and Coffee, and he's definitely a car enthusiast, and he's got his dealer's license, and so he's always working on some project. Usually they're nicer cars. Like I think he's got maybe like a Land Rover, Range Rover type thing right now. It's like 90 grand up online. I've definitely seen him have a couple Porsches for sale. So he's doing the right thing for like Montecito, because Montecito's like that. It's always, of course, with the Montecito Country Club and a golf club, and then there's the Valley Club of Montecito, which is another exclusive golf club. Montecito is a really special community right by the ocean. Of course, the Miramar Hotel, all that stuff. So it's always been a little bit upper crusty, as far as like the wealthy families. I think a long time ago had estates there, and there's a handful of estates that still definitely exist in their original form. I want to say maybe they're restored, and then there's the the new wealth that's come from, of course, mostly Los Angeles, because Santa Barbara is so close to LA. You have all the families that just migrate up the coast because they're able to afford Santa Barbara. And even back in the days when we were growing up, we would have on our street like doctors and people that were had large businesses in Los Angeles. They were the only ones that could afford to live on the beach. We were like legacy family from back in the 1970s when the house on the beach was only $30,000. So it wasn't out of reach, at all by any means. Back then it was kind of like crap. I imagine the houses in Summerland were like 20 grand or something. when your mom,
it's crazy, to think that the house that your dad built for grandpa there,
yeah,
You know, the house that he bought originally, you know, 20 grand is now
Yeah.
not 200 grand, not 2 million, but closer to 10 million, you know, and
I
that's
know,
just
right?
half the property. It's
Yeah.
amazing. You know, when I was a kid, my mom, you know, was part of the Santa Barbara community and um, the Head Start, the kids program. And I'm not sure how old I was. I was probably in grade school, but she had this friend. And one day, um, you know, she's like, oh, okay, I'm going to drop you off at the friend's house
Okay.
and you're going to hang out with him.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure. I think she had something to do. And so I get over there and, oh, yeah, he's in one of these spreads, you know, one of these upper crust echelon spreads, you know, literally
Right.
his kitchen was bigger than my entire house. You know, his
His,
refrigerator was bigger than, you know, my entire kitchen. But it
right.
was a trip because it was me and him, and we're there, we're playing around, and there was no
Yeah.
the parents were, you know, wherever they were,
Yeah.
but the housekeeper there.
The
So the
housekeeper, right.
housekeeper made us lunch, and
Oh,
it
nice.
was just like, you know, such a contrast of living conditions. You know, here I am
Right.
living in this little 1 bedroom or 1.5 bedroom, whatever. That's
Yeah.
now Stacky's Pizza or
Right.
Rusty's Pizza.
Rusty's Pizza, yeah.
And you know, go up to this estate, and then his driveway, you know, was bigger than the school at
All right.
Summerland. You know, his driveway, his front area, he had, you know, like a backyard that was big as a football field, uh,
Wow.
tennis courts, private pool,
Right.
you know, the whole spread, you know, giant 20-foot ceilings, cathedral, and you know, and it
That's
was just like,
amazing.
wow, you know, but it was weird because I kind of felt sorry for the kid because,
Right.
you know, here he is, this big house, his housekeeper, you know, all the food and treats and whatever he could want. But his parents were always at work.
Oh, right.
That was one of the
Yeah.
things he was saying. He's like, oh, I'm like, oh, where are your mom and dad? Oh, they're at work. They're always at work.
Okay.
And I forget
Interesting.
the name of his housekeeper, but his housekeeper slash nanny was kind of
Yeah.
in charge, you know, making sure we're safe, making sure we're fed and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's just like a little bit of you know, displacement. It's like, oh, this kid has everything, but he has nothing. You know, he doesn't have his
Right.
mom around at
Right.
all. He said they're always out of the town, out of country, off at work, and you know, I guess you got to have that lifestyle to afford, you know, a big spread like that. You know, you spend a
Yeah.
lot of time building your business. We look at people like Elon Musk who, you know, sleeps in his factory or spends hours at night, you know, planning and strategizing and engineering his rocket ships or his PayPal. And um,
Right.
you know, I guess there is something to be said about having enough money to have food and a comfortable place to sleep. But at what point are you sacrificing, you know, family and connection? You know,
Right.
uh, you know, just as far as my take, you know, I've thought about it introspectively. It was like, oh, if I had $1 billion, but no friends, you know, only friends want something or business partners, and
Right. It's a little
I was
trippy.
looking at study to where, you know, like compassion is something that wealthy people don't don't have as much of because, you know, they have money. Oh, we'll just pay them. We don't need to care about their person. We just pay
Oh,
them
right.
and keep them. Everything's, you know, a money amount. Oh, so my servant, I just pay him 50,000 a year or whatever, and they wait on me hand and foot. So you don't really get that connection, I guess. Some obscure study that I looked at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, it's interesting. I remember a couple kids like that. One was like, so, he was, bless his heart, he was a little bit like special interest or special needs, I would say. Um, but he could surf and he um, was, I thought he was a cool kid, nice kid, and he lived on Padero Lane, and we used to go visit him, and we would surf with him. And but he had one of those houses, like you said, where the lawn is literally like probably a football field, at least 2 football fields wide, I want to say, that went out to the ocean. So you had to walk from the house across this giant field of mowed perfect grass onto the little patio that was right along the ocean. You could see the waves, and and it was down at Serena, kind of like near Beach Club Road where your grandma used to be, right?
Yeah, yeah, Beach
Yeah,
Club Road. That was
yeah,
a little private road, you know. I guess it's
yeah.
gated off now. It used to not be great gated, but it was
Okay.
always a private road with some
Yeah,
you know, a little bit of money going on there
yeah,
compared
for
to
sure.
everywhere else.
Yeah, it was almost like a little development that probably happened maybe in the mid 70s, maybe early 80s. It filled in for sure, without a doubt. I mean, because I remember going there in the early when because we were 10 years old slash 9, 10, whatever, 1980, and you know, by the time we got bicycles and we were doing our little adventures down to Santa Claus Lane, we were probably you know, 10, 11, 12. You might have even been 9 years old, 8 years old when you were riding down there on your bike to the you know, it was pretty awesome because as kids, I mean, of course, Santa Claus was like definitely the you know, we kind of maybe knew or not or didn't know or didn't want to care, but we just knew Santa Claus brought the gifts during Christmas and all that. But Santa Claus Lane was like a special roadside attraction, sort of left over from the probably 1940s or early 50s when they built this little tourist destination. And of course, the malt shop, the candy shop, our little arcade, like you're talking about, and it was fun for us because it was literally like living within biking distance of like a micro Disneyland or something for us as kids, you know? So that was
Yeah,
cool.
they had the little train that went around to the backside, had a bunch of
Right.
little things, and I remember, I guess it was the little candy shop slash gift shop. Um,
Yeah.
it had a couple of video games in it. This was before the arcade started, and
Right.
then there was an arcade there. I went there one time. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go play the Star Trek or whatever game was there, the one or two games that I'd like to
Yeah.
drive up. And nope, there's a whole arcade. You know, I think there was
Whoa.
maybe 20, 15 or 20 different games there, and that was for a short time, you know,
For a short time.
and then
Interesting.
I guess another 4 or 5 miles, I cross under the freeway and right up to Carpinteria into downtown Carpinteria.
Yeah.
There was the big arcade, and I guess there was maybe 30 or 40, maybe 50 different games.
That's cool.
I'd drive up there, you know, go work for my grandma and grandpa, clean their yard, get $5 or $10, whatever, $20, and I'm gonna save part of this. I'm gonna save part of this and buy me my own game. No, I'd dump every single dollar in there. I'd get on the Pac-Man or Super Pac-Man or Mouse.
Yeah.
My favorite games now, which weren't when I was younger. I guess I wasn't a good driver. Was the driving games, you know?
Oh, right. Pole position. Remember pole position?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That was awesome. And we used to go because I went to Montecito Union School in for what is it called, kindergarten, and then I went to, of course, Summerland School for first grade. But then I got pushed over to Catalino for first grade, and then so I met a bunch of kids in first grade Catalino, and I think my buddy Tarek Newman was one of them, and I didn't realize it, but until he told me, like reminded me, hey, I was in class with you, but because you kind of sometimes forget who the you know, first grade was quite a long time ago, you know, for us now, you know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and then but it was cool because then when I went to Carpinteria Junior High School, I caught up with all my friends from first grade from Catalino, but that I hadn't seen for like, you know, 6 years or 7 years. So it was like Tommy, one of my best friends from first grade, was like a bigger version of himself, of course, because seventh grade is a long shot from first grade, you know. So you're like, you become a little man when you're in seventh grade, you know. And that was a cool time for us. Of course, junior high school in Carpinteria was awesome, and um, you know, all the electives, you could choose classes. That was a pretty cool thing. Of course, you had to take the basics, you know, math, English, you know, history, science, blah blah blah. But then you got these electives like wood shop, art. I can't recall if there was ceramics or not, but at least wood shop and art was some electives you could pick from, and that was pretty awesome. And then of course there was the sports activities, you know, just regular PE. But then some kids got involved in before you become a warrior football player for Carpinteria High School, you were an Indian in the Carpinteria Indians. I never did that, but the kids, some of the kids were super into it, man. You know, the football players, kids. You know,
Oh yeah,
so
I don't know if they counted as a class back then.
right.
I took for my electives. I took home ec, I
Mhm.
took band, and it's funny. The reason I took home ec is someone was telling me, "Oh yeah, there's a bunch of that's a girls' class." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's where I want. I'm gonna go hang out with the girls." You know, junior
Yeah, that's
high, starting to get
rad.
a little peach fuzz going,
Oh, right. Yeah,
and
hell
so
yeah.
you know, starting to get a little curious about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And then I took band. Of course, band was something that my mom kind of required, I guess, or that was one of the things that she did when I was younger. You know, you got to take a musical instrument. You know, this is all through grade school. She had I had a private teacher
oh,
for
nice.
piano, but then I had a private, you know, had a guitar instructor for a while. And then, you know, by the time I guess third grade, they allowed us to do band in Summerland. I'm not sure if we went somewhere, but I remember walking home carrying an instrument home
Yeah,
back
I
and
remember that.
forth. And
Uh,
then I took computers. You know, I guess I was lucky in junior high. One of the guys I know
that's
I've told
right.
you before, his dad was like a guy that you know bought the equipment. So there was you know
It's
four or five
amazing.
computers and four or five guys in the computer lab, and so that
That's
was an
super
interesting
cool.
elective.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember that too in junior high, and I really enjoyed that class. I think there's a picture actually of me in class with a bunch of other boys and girls, whatever, just sitting in our little chairs, um, you know, behind the, I think they were Macs. I want to say Macintosh, the early Macintosh computers. And I just remember there was sort of like, we were definitely giving the computer direction to do specific things, and some of it was actually creating these little art shapes and forms. And I mean, I think one program was called Logo or something, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. You know, of course, back then there was also the imagination that it brought on. You know, with the games that were, I think as well, where there was like rooms you could go into, and the wizards there, and there's this all this. Like, it's almost like some sort of like you know, Dungeons and Dragons, but we weren't online. It was like you were just playing, I guess, against the computer or something like that. But it would definitely got your mind going, so that was fun.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
all the memories. You know, I mean, I don't know if you were saying you had wood shop and stuff in junior
Yeah.
high.
What's
I don't think we had any shop things in junior high.
okay?
It wasn't until high school, and of course, I took auto shop, welding,
Right.
metal shop,
That's
ag,
awesome. Yeah.
um,
Wow. That's cool.
typing, computer class. So those are all my electives.
That's
Um,
rad.
you know, I kind of got spread around a little bit.
Yeah. Do you still have your typing skills? Can you still can you do you remember those fundamentals?
It's
Are you
my fingers remember it. I don't
okay? That's
remember
good.
it.
Oh wow, that's
I don't.
amazing.
I don't have to think. Oh, this, that, this, that. It's just, my fingers just. I just boom, 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 boom. They just go.
Oh wow, that's rad, man. Yeah, I have to kind of think about it. I'm like a pecker where they say like doot, 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 doot. But I mean, you get you definitely understand once you stay with the keyboard enough. But I know there's a certain way of probably setting your hands down, and then like you said, you don't have to think, which is
Well,
rad.
it was because it was practice. It was, you know, the first 6 months or year of typing, it was you're not making words. You're just doing the letters.
Oh, really? Oh,
A,
interesting.
B, C. You
Oh,
know,
interesting.
you basically learn your base
Yeah.
positions and then your up down
Okay.
positions.
Okay.
And then so by the time you get into words, your fingers already know. And
Oh,
I don't know,
cool.
I guess there's a certain skill set.
Yeah,
I've
it's like
always, you know, once I learned to type, I've always typed because I'm doing computer stuff. And,
yeah, that's
um,
cool.
you know,
That's awesome.
I guess I was above 60 words a minute,
That's cool.
you know,
That's
because I
amazing.
got an A in the class. And I think they, you know, they go how many words per minute and how many mistakes.
Oh, interesting.
And so, you know, you learn to catch yourself in mistakes. And you know, through college, when I went to college, you know, it was all done on the computer. So
Okay.
report or I guess on the computer it's interesting because there's no classroom and there's no discussion as far as I'm here live, but there was always, requirements on discussion threads. So
Oh,
the
okay.
teacher would post a post that had, such and such ideas or topics, and um, you were required, I think, to post 2 or 3 for each thread per week or something. So you're supposed to respond to the teacher, then respond to at least 2 other students. And sometimes those discussions would get in depth, even though you're not sitting there face to face. Everybody's, coming at their own time, but the
Right.
threads develop, because I'd
Mhm.
come on. My thing was first thing in the morning before my neck and back start hurting.
Right.
I would just get on and spend a couple hours reading and doing some responses and come back the next day. And sure enough, there'd be a bunch more people had gotten on. And, uh, I guess in a way, it's kind of like a Reddit thread.
Right. Are you on Reddit now or no? Do you check it out or?
No, I don't. I haven't even been posting on Facebook other
Yeah.
than just the lives.
Yeah.
Even every Saturday or Sunday, I might turn on the game for a little bit and
Oh, that's cool.
play the
Um,
game. I've been making fun of what I do because I'll play like Wormate. I don't know if you've seen that game.
no.
You're like a worm and you just run around and eat these little fruits. And if you smash
Classic.
into something, you turn into a bunch of little fruits. And so I
Okay.
call it Wookie Worms, Words of Wonder. And I
Okay.
just ramble on. I haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet, but it's kind of fun, just play
Yeah.
the game for a little 20 minutes and ramble on about
That's
whatever.
cool. That's awesome. Are you putting that on Twitch
It's
or?
on Twitch.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's rad. Um, yeah, so I did have a friend who was really into Reddit, and I remember hanging out with him. Shout out to Kevin Brake if you ever watched the show. Anyways, he's a photographer in Los Angeles, and we were watching some. I think it was on Reddit. So you can post. Can you post videos on Reddit? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think you could post
Yeah.
like links so you
Okay.
can link
Okay.
the videos.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
more like I get Reddit a lot when I'm looking for something specific.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah,
Like
I've
I
seen
was
that as
looking
well.
up, what was it? Should I feed cherries to my bunny rabbit? Right?
Oh, okay.
Can they eat cherries?
Yeah.
And so there was like a little discussion. It started out. Someone said, "Oh, I fed cherries to my bunny," and da 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 da. And then a bunch of other people chime in about, "Oh, you can feed them apples, or if you give them too much treats, they can get hyperactive or overweight and stuff like
Oh, I
that."
see.
So
That's cool.
it comes up in Google search. So like a lot of
Oh,
times,
yeah.
if you're looking for a specific car. Oh, what about this problem? Of course, you can find a lot of YouTube videos, but Reddit will sometimes have a lot more conversation where, oh, I found
Oh,
this, and someone else says, well, I found this, and this is what I did. Um, so it's very
yeah.
useful, as far as like very specific, detailed conversation.
Yeah. I'm
You get
finding that just in my short time now, because I think I've only officially, I did a part of a day yesterday. I ended up having to go back out to the estate sale location and help a guy move some shelves. And then I went out there on another occasion yesterday to help a guy load a motorcycle that he bought into his truck. And, but the people that come into the antique store, some of them are incredibly knowledgeable about specific things that they're looking for, or if they see a specific thing. I sat with a guy yesterday looking at a fan, like a GE fan from 1901, and it was a oscillating or just a little fan to blow air from 1900, and so he knew everything about fans, about that fan and how that fan had been redone, and you could see these screws have been replaced and the cord's been replaced, and so it's like you can really gain a lot of knowledge from people that are very hyper specific about a certain type of collector or collection that they have, and then they're seeking more, of course, to add to their personal collection, but they're like the specialist in that field of whatever they collect, so
Oh
that's always
yeah,
fun.
well, that's how it ends up being, because when I was helping my friend do like barn cleanouts and stuff,
Yeah.
he had a list of people. So this
Okay.
guy was the old tool specialist. This guy was the old art specialist. This guy or this gal was, jewelry, or this gal was ceramics. And so these people that specialize in it, they got a lot of client base, and they're known
Yeah.
for, oh, this guy's got the old electrical GE stuff. And so, we would always wholesale it to them at a lower price to just offload it because we don't have the market. But
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's cool.
it's real interesting.
Totally. Well, good show today, man. Another rocking on another episode. Cheers to frickin' it's hump day. Cheers to Wednesday, man.
Another day, another show.
Day. Yeah, another day,
Another
another show. Exactly. You have a great day, man. We'll see you
All right, we'll
mañana.
see you tomorrow, brother.
Sounds good. Have a great day. Later.